Greetings, folks. My name is Always Gamgee, and welcome to the DtwenD system development vlog. In this video, I want to talk about the method I'm using for DtwenD to incorporate classes in an elegant and highly versatile manner: class dice. One of the iconic features of D&D and its imitators is that each character would have at least one class, which would represent their role and their main skill set. A class would dictate the features they would acquire, their degree of combat skill, how much punishment they could withstand before they fell in battle, and the types of hazards that they were inclined to be better at avoiding. If a class could wield magic, each type of magic user class also had a spell selection list, a method for memorizing and preparing spells in their spell slots, and a chart that dictated how many times they can cast X level spells per day. With all these different facets to classes of this design, making your own class is a pretty complicated process, especially if you want to balance it against other pre-existing classes. While some daring souls have done so for their own groups or have made third-party products out of them, the vast majority of D&D consumers just want classes officially made and sold by Wizards of the Coast, or Paizo for Pathfinder, because they're convinced that the companies that produce the official versions of these games have the secret sauce. With DtwenD, I'm saying screw all that noise, and I'm taking class design in a radically different direction that has its design roots in D&D 4e and Pathfinder 2e. Like in the original design philosophy, classes represent a character's role and themed skill set. Fighters fight, rogues rogue, wizards wizard, etc. Rather than having a table with features, hit dice, proficiencies, blah 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 listed by level, however, each class consists of what they do in bullet point form and a die rating from D2 to D12. For example, a Folk at Arms is the basic soldier class and isn't restricted to men. They can fight with an assortment of melee weapons and are trained in armored combat. As soldiers, they can also do other soldier stuff that isn't directly related to attacking their enemies, such as knowledge of military culture, military tactics, etc. So, whenever you're fighting an opponent in melee combat and you're wielding a soldier's weapon, you can add your Folk at Arms class die along with your strength die to your D20 roll to see if you damage your opponent. If your opponent is blocking your attack with a shield, the GM will roll your opponent's strength die and Folk at Arms die and subtract that total to your attack roll. If your net attack roll is higher than 10, then any amount that you exceed 10 will be the damage that you dealt. Another example class would be the Sneaky type. The Sneaky type is the catch-all term used for archetypes that are known to sneak around, like thieves, scouts, ninjas, etc. Whenever sneakiness or subterfuge is involved, add the Sneaky type class die if you have it at a minimum of D2. This includes sneak attacks and backstabs. Magic users work the same way as well. Each magic using class has its areas of expertise, and whenever a magic user of said class tries something that falls within the penumbra of their class's specialty, they add their class die to the D20 roll, along with the appropriate attribute die, which would most likely be intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, based on their intentions. Now, what if you're doing something where your highest class die that you have is for a class that isn't specialized for the situation at hand, but also isn't completely unfamiliar with it either? In that case, use half of the class die. A D8 becomes a D4, or a D2 becomes a D2 minus 1, for example. Simplicity itself. And now for the kicker. Classes in DtwenD aren't just restricted to the same old D&D archetypes. Remember when you're making your D&D character and you got to that part called backgrounds, where you'd pick a background and each would tell you what skills or tools you're proficient in, as well as provide some other background related gimmick? These backgrounds in DtwenD are also classes. Is your background that of a farmer? You have the farmer class at D4 or whatever. Are you a professional blacksmith? You have the blacksmith class at D6, and so on and so on. Want more of that old school feel where your character's race, called lineage in D20, is your character class? Go for it. Get that elf class at D6 or that dwarf class at D8. Do your elfy and dwarvy things and do it well. What about all that other stuff that classes cover in D&D and its imitators, like hit points and class features? Class dice contribute to your maximum grit pool, which is an improved version of hit points that I'm going to cover in another video. As far as class features are concerned, or gimmicks as they're called in D20, those are add-ons that can be incorporated into your game to customize it even further than the base foundation, and is also a topic that I'll cover in another video. If you like or dislike anything you've seen in this video, please give it a like or a dislike and leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to support my channel, and if you really want to support my endeavors, head over to my Patreon and become an appreciated trooper. The link is in the description. Until then, folks, take care and play to find out what happens.